welcome to another episode of Beer for Breakfast ABV. I am Danielle from Marty and Danielle in the Morning on 91X. As always, I have my beer drinking partner in crime with me, Paul Segura, brewmaster of Karl Strauss. And we are stoked to welcome Harland Brewing on Beer for Breakfast. We have Nick, director of Brewery Operations, as well as Ryan, head brewer. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome. Great to have you guys on the show.
We're very stoked to be here.
I've heard so much about this Japanese lager, and I am so stoked to finally try it.
Me too.
Hopefully good things you've heard about it.
Yeah.
So what's the story of Harlan? How do we get here?
Yeah, so Ryan and I met several years ago while we were working at St. Archer. And Ryan was at Green Flash before that. I was at Pizza Port before that. And we became friends and we're working closely together over there. And then when the opportunity presented itself for us to kind of head this project up, it was an obvious choice for us to do it together. He and I are very different and we balance each other that way. And so Ryan's the creative and the guy who's coming up with all the stuff that we do for the most part. And I'm the back end, making sure it all happens kind of the guy. So here we are. I mean, we started contract brewing in the beginning of 2019. So we were making beer around town while we were building our facility in Scripps Ranch. And then we opened, our first brew was on June 1st, 2019. And we opened the tasting room here in Scripps in November. So we're coming up on 2 years here in this coming June, November timeline.
Cheers to that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
A great 2 years so far. So both you guys.
Last year was a little interesting, but yeah.
No doubt. You guys both have good pedigrees. You came from two of the better breweries in San Diego, and I think the beer shows it.
We appreciate that.
I'm one sip into this Japanese lager, tasting it for the first time, and it is phenomenal.
It's really good.
Thank you very much. It's one of our favorite beers we make. I mean, it's kind of funny how it came to be a part of our core portfolio, but when we first started the business, we were making a Mexican lager as our core light beer that we were making in a 12-ounce can in a 6-pack, and it was a good beer, but it just didn't have that much velocity out in the market. And then we kind of were like, all right, let's mix it up, try something new, and we made this rice lager and put it in a 16-ounce can, and it's been like really good for us, and people have liked it, and it's been fun to do.
For those uninitiated with this beer, it incorporates both jasmine rice and toasted rice flakes. And to me, this has a nice pillowy malt profile. I wouldn't say it's super dry, but it's dry, dry enough. And it's got a really nice balance between the malt and the hops, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting beer for sure. And it, if you look at like a lot of floral kind of perfumey notes that you can get from noble hops, we kind of went in a different direction, and we used that puff jasmine rice. Really gives us that kind of nice, delicate floral piece to the palate that we really like. And so it's kind of achieving a similar profile with using a different ingredient to do so. But yeah, I mean, it just gets a little bit of bittering hops, so there's no aroma hops in it. I mean, it's really just a malt driven beer, which is, a fun one to do in San Diego, especially where hops are, made often and all the time. So we're stoked on this beer for sure.
Well, Danielle likes to say, when you go to a brewery, it's always good to try their Pilsner and start with that. And if it's a really solid Pilsner, chances are the rest of their beers are also going to be good. Right, Danielle?
That is what I say. I learned from the best, the brewmaster of Karl Strauss. What I love about this is, in San Diego, we do have so many Mexican lagers, and I think that we do them really, really well, but you don't see a lot of Japanese lagers. So let's just say you had somebody walked into the tasting room at Harland Brewing, and they see Japanese lager, and they're like, ooh, Japanese lager. I've only ever had like a Mexican lager. How would you describe this beer to that person?
Ooh, so that's a great question. For me, it's like, I think Mexican beers, you can really taste that they're steeped in German tradition. I mean, so there is going to be a little firmer bitterness than we like, especially in this lager. And the lager that we based it off of, or like our inspiration for this beer, it's called Orion. So it's a Japanese lager from Okinawa, and so it has like a really restrained bitterness, very far outside the German Pils, Czech Pils kind of range. So for us, it was like finding a way to make a beer that was, as drinkable and interesting at the same time. So, I mean, I would just say it's like a little less bitter, a little more pillowy. To use Paul's word. I like that.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because Nick and I had made this recipe before actually. And before it became part of our lineup, we didn't have the puffed jasmine rice in it. And we have a 5-barrel system that we brought on too. So we have a little pilot system, and we did a test batch with the puffed jasmine rice, and we just fell in love. We were like, it just changed it, just more complex for just being, a rice. I mean, it's pretty much it's literally Pilsner malt, the jasmine rice, and the toasted rice, and like that's it. So it's pretty complex, I think, just from that jasmine rice addition. And I do contribute that pillowy mouthfeel to the jasmine rice as well. Yeah.
When I think Japanese lager, I think a lot of people tend to just kind of burden them down with Sriracha Ace hops.
Yeah.
Contribute a lot of like dill.
Making pickle juice.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of dill, right? And people just tend to overdo it. That hop just contributes so much like unique flavor, and it can be really polarizing.
Yeah.
So I was really pleasantly surprised that this one didn't have that. This one is just super clean and really nice.
Appreciate it.
We appreciate that.
I could see why it's all the rage right now.
Yeah. One of our favorite things we've actually done with this is we have a foeder that we use for clean beer, actually. So not for sour beer. And it's a conical foeder actually. And so it's kind of stainless on the bottom with oak on top. But we did this Japanese lager fermented in the foeder, and that was, it was so good. It was easily one of our favorite beers that we've come out with, I think, so far.
Even more pillows, even more.
Yeah.
Mouthfeel.
I can just imagine Nick and Ryan just like falling back into like a pillow of rice, like, oh.
That's it.
Off the camera, maybe I'll ask you guys about if you're cooking it ahead of time or if you're throwing it right into the mash or whatever. I'd be interested to know how you're doing that, because rice can sometimes present problems in the brewing process. It kind of gelatinizes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty low percentage. So even though it's a prominent piece of the aroma and the palate, it's like it's not too much. And we use a decent amount of beta glucanase. So I mean, it gets a little gummy, but I mean, I think it filters well enough to where we still get, some good extract from it and some good flavor from it.
This feels like a.
Sorry,
go for Paul. No, you go, Paul.
I just said the flavor definitely comes through, and it does have that nice jasmine flowery floral thing going on.
This feels like a converter beer. This feels like a beer who's like a person who's only had big macro light beers, who's never really gotten into the craft beer scene. They think it's nothing but like hoppy, bitter IPAs. This right here is a converter beer, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's super approachable. I mean, it definitely is, going to give you a little more, and it's a little more complex than your typical American light lager. But yeah, I mean, it's still. I think that's part of why we like it, is because anybody can drink it, from Mr. Paul Segura himself to people like that have never had a craft beer before, and they're visiting San Diego for the first time. So I mean, I appreciate that, because we like to think that the beer does that as well.
That's awesome. Did I just see recently on your social media you guys opened up another tasting room in Bay Park?
We did. So we opened in Bay Park, I want to say 4 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
I appreciate it. It was a super fortuitous event for us to be able to get that space, and we're stoked on it. And the neighborhood's been super welcoming. I mean, Bay Park is a rad community, and it seems like people just want to be able to stay and hang out in Bay Park. And so we get people walking their dogs that come in for a beer, and it's pretty rad. And all the restaurants around there have been really supportive, and the bars and stuff. So it's been really exciting for us. Yeah, we love our new tasting room in Bay Park for sure.
Where is it in Bay Park?
So it's on Napier. It's right. If you know where Poseidon Project is, it's 2 doors down from that. It's right by Santana's, Luce, Cecil's.
Okay.
It's like a square area where all those places are.
It was the old
exactly
Benchmark. The old Benchmark satellite tasting room before. Yeah. So it was vacant for a little while.
Okay. All right. I know exactly then.
Yep.
I mean, there's there's some a lot of cool places to get beer right along that sort of corridor.
Yeah.
There, I mean, you've got starting at the south end, the Coronado tasting room, and then you come north is like High Dive is right there, and actually you got the Ballast Point tasting room, kind of around on the south side too. But as you come north, there's all kinds of cool places.
Yeah, Bay Park is really they're working on making it a more a place for people to go and hang out, and I think it's rad to be able to go and see all the different places that are in that area, and you can make it like a point to go drink beer in Bay Park, kind of like people do with Miramar or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like you can make a point to see several different places and
like a pub crawl.
That's right.
So the trolley is actually going to stop right there too. So you can basically go downtown and then take the trolley up north towards Bay Park areas, get off right there, eat, get some beers, a few different places. So
yeah.
As someone who used to go to shows at Brick by Brick all the time, and there was nothing to go to around there. Like, it is so great that Bay Park is finally getting some places that you can go to before you go to show at Brick by Brick, or really anything that you're doing over there.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting for sure.
Yeah, I bet the guys at Bitter Brothers are kind of stoked too.
Yeah, they're right there too, off Marina. What is that, Marina right there? Yeah, all the way at the end.
Yeah, they're at the north side.
Yeah.
So getting into the next beer, the India Pale Whale, I see what you did there. 6% Cryohopped Ipa. I started drinking this while you guys were talking, and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I love out of an IPA.
Yeah, this one. So it's funny. Like Ryan talked about with our pilot system, we made a beer for draft only that was this same hop profile, but it was 5%, and we couldn't think of a name for it. And Ryan was like, I don't know, let's just call it Pale Whale. And so we called it that, and then everybody here, all the the whole team was drinking it and loving it. So we were like, well, let's scale it up a little bit, and we had a need in the distribution book for another West Coast IPA, so we bumped up the ABV a little bit and kind of are running with it. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tribute to some older hop profiles with some new stuff in there as well with the Mosaic Cryo. But I mean, it's how we like to drink our IPAs. It's the bitterness is there, but it's not overly bitter. I mean, it's super approachable from the front, and it just has a lot of good hop aroma and hop character on the back.
Yeah, so playing around the pilot system, which is kind of how this came about. With everything going on in the beer world right now, we were doing a lot of hazy IPAs. We were doing West Coast, but they were usually still using some newer hops that released, and so Nick and I were like, let's brew something that is kind of a mix of both. So has a lower bitterness like you would find in a hazy IPA. And we use Chinook and Simcoe, which are traditional to, more West Coast styles. But then we decided to throw in a little bit of that Mosaic Cryo in there and kind of, give it that new school approach. So yeah, I mean, clear beer, lower in bitterness though. Older school hops, except for the Mosaic Cryo, kind of like a new twist. So just kind of like a perfect blend of those early 2000s West Coast IPAs and what we think the West Coast IPA is now here in San Diego. So
you guys say lower in bitterness, but like the bitterness is it's fairly aggressive. It's not low, and I mean, to me, this is West Coast as hell.
This
is quintessential West Coast IPA right here, man. And I get really nice flavors of lemon and grapefruit. And then I get a little bit of tropical, but the nose to me is all like citrus and dank.
Yeah.
Really good.
That's cool that you get the bitterness. We just think back to, what the IBU races in, when we were first getting in the industry where you had like I was at Green Flash, we had palate wrecker, it was just it was literally meant to just destroy your palate. And, you had what else? Ballast had, what was that? Tongue Buckler. I think that was their Imperial Red. That was 100 plus IBUs or whatever. So yeah. But yeah. And it's a lower ABV beer, kind of what we like. Nick and I think typical brewers, but we don't like anything too high. 7% is still pushing it for me. I just want something I can
want to be able to drink,
have a few of
3 or 4 of them, not, not 1.5 and then feel like I want to go to bed.
As a major West Coast IPA fan, I love that. When I saw it was only 6, I was like, yeah, it's not a 6.5 to a 7.5. It's just a 6, but it drinks like it's a 6.5 or a 7.5, and I love that. so many times we'll talk about the sniper, you know what I mean? And you're drinking like a double IPA and it's like going down so smooth. And then you're like, oh no, this is 8%. Like,
Yeah.
hit me.
Oh no,
And
I'm hammered now.
And as a big IPA drinker, I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I like the beers that are the opposite of a sniper too. The ones that are full of flavor and give you everything you want as a person who loves the flavor of beer.
Mm.
But then you look at the thing and it's like 6%. All right, I'm gonna have another one, maybe 2, 3 more. You know, beer is a social beverage. You should be able to enjoy several.
Yeah.
You know, in a sitting.
We agree with you there, 100%.
Yeah.
So Nick and Ryan, I see something on this can and I want to ask you guys about this. If this is your mission statement, your mantra, what it is, but it says Harlan, embodying the spirit of rolling up your sleeves to get the job done. Where did this come from? Because I love that.
Yeah, that was when they were, okay. So the guys who started the business that brought us on, you know, when they were envisioning what they wanted to do with a new brewery, they kind of always went back to this, you know, this kind of ideal of hard work and how that, you know, a beer can be a reflection or a manifestation of hard work. And so I think that was kind of the idea, is to, you know, impart the drinker with the feeling of, you know, how much care we take and how much work we put into the beer is, you know, to help that translate through to the drinker, so that, you know, every time they're drinking it, they appreciate the work, they appreciate the care, you know.
It's more than just throwing a bunch of stuff in a kettle and putting it in a can and being like, here you go. And as a drinker, I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, that pale ale kind of goes into exactly that, because for us, I mean, and it's another example of why we have the pilot system that we have, but basically we were lacking a West Coast IPA in our lineup. So pale ale is now going to become that, but, you know, it took we trialed different recipes, different hops in different amounts, different times of hops. So, you know, until we kind of locked in one that we thought, and the owners thought was, you know, worth being something that's a year-round offering. So yeah, I mean, it definitely was very hard for that, especially in San Diego, where, you know, we have 170 plus breweries and everyone's got IPA. So to try to get something that's going to be be in the core lineup for us and be a West Coast IPA, it was really important for us to get something that was, you know, like something that we thought was really enjoyable and a little bit different than what's out there right now. So
yeah,
I'm a fan.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You guys in San Diego making this kind of beer and repping our city, and, you know, being a part of a really cool scene, a beer scene here in San Diego. You know, and I can see that you guys are passionate and hardworking about this, and I'm stoked to finally meet you guys and taste your beers. And I'm stoked to have you in my backyard here. I'm going to come by and drink the beers more often.
Well, we appreciate that.
Awesome,
It's you know, it's just an honor to have you drink the beers. You know, a man like yourself with all of your time in this town and, you know, all the breweries you've seen. Like, it's we appreciate it. So thank you for having us and being stoked on what we're doing.
Paul, you make me look good. I appreciate that too. Thank you.
I'm a nerd. I'm a beer geek. I'm a fanboy of these guys. And I'm just a fan of good beer. And when I see it, I say it. So I'm not, you know, trying to blow smoke up anybody's skirt here. I think the beer is good. And I mean, both like really solid, eye-openingly good beers. And I hope that, you know, people out there can kind of trust our opinion about this and go seek your beer out and, you know, and help support you guys.
Thank you.
What is the best way that's keeping up with Harlan as far as like hours go, all of those kinds of things? How do we keep up with Harlan?
Yeah. So for the most part, our Instagram is probably where we're the most communicative on what's going on. But yeah, I mean, we have all 3 of our taste rooms are open every day of the week. So we have the one at the brewery in Scripps Ranch, the one in Bay Park that we just opened, and then we have one at the One Paseo development in Del Mar, Sereno Valley, whatever we call that area.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so we actually opened that one first. We opened that one in July of 2019. So we opened that before the Scripps Ranch location even opened. But yeah, that's so that all 3 of our taste rooms. I think we're still shipping within the state of California. we have a distribution partner that has gotten us a lot of placements around town. So you'll be able to find us at some grocery and your favorite bars and restaurants. But yeah, we're just stoked to be here and stoked to be continuing to do it.
Well, and I'm stoked to have you on Beer for Breakfast. I know that Paul and I have talked about Harlan for a while. We've seen you guys out there doing the thing, and we've been wanting to get you on. So I'm so glad this finally happened.
Awesome.
We appreciate that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul Segura, would you like to leave Nick and Ryan with anything before we bid adieu?
It's great to finally meet you guys. I just went back and took a sip of the Japanese lager, and it seems to be opening up right now. It's got even more floral and more of that sort of beautiful malt profile, right? I mean,
yeah.
I could see Danielle just took another sip too.
I was like, see what he's talking about, this brewmaster.
Really nice job on this, guys. Congrats on outlasting COVID, and I know it's just going to get better from here now that the draft side's opening up, and
Absolutely.
Yeah. But congrats on that, and much continued success to you guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Nick and Ryan, thank you so much for joining us for Beer for Breakfast ABV this Friday morning. Paul Segura will be joining us on 921X around 9:10 Pacific Standard Time for Beer for Breakfast. We will be drinking Harland Brewing. Super stoked to expose Marty to Harland Brewing. He's going to love it. And let's do this. Cheers to independently owned craft beer radio in San Diego.
Cheers.
Thank you.